All right, guys, welcome back to another video. We have a ton to talk about today, so let's just jump right in with some State of Decay, some Undead Labs news, as it looks like State of Decay 3, which is a game I'm very excited to see how this will end up. I was a fan of State of Decay 2, and now them under Xbox, they have a ton more resources, and I feel like they could do a lot of things to really improve on the game, graphically, gameplay, all of these things, just with the amount of money and resources backing it. So State of Decay 3, I have high expectations for. We know that Undead Labs is working on that. We haven't seen really anything of it yet. We only saw some of those CGI trailers when they first announced it. I'm hoping 2024 will be that year where they do show off some State of Decay 3. But it looks like it isn't the only game that Undead Labs is working on, as there was a LinkedIn post here that was found from Daniel Floyd. That's the developer that was working on the game previously, but is now currently working at Blackbird Interactive. And in his LinkedIn post, it says here, according to Daniel Floyd's LinkedIn, Undead Labs is working on at least 2 unreleased games. Specifically, it says the team at Undead Labs has multiple not yet released projects going on behind the scenes. Now, we don't know what the other one is. Obviously, one of those games is going to be State of Decay 3. That's probably one that the majority of the resources from Undead Labs are being used to work on. But there's another game apparently that they have going on. And maybe this is one that we'll see announced in 2024. It's just insane to think about the number of games that Xbox has under their belt. We've seen the roadmap. We've seen that roadmap that was created by Clobril that just looked crazy with all the games on there going through to the next number of years. And that's what we know about. There are going to be so many games right now that we don't know about that are in the works. Then you add in all the ABK stuff. It's just insanity with the amount of games that Xbox has to come out. Now, 2023 was a phenomenal year for Xbox. And I think they had a huge bounce back, and it's one of their best years in terms of releases, in terms of content that we got. But people have a short memory. So 2024, again, is going to be a year that they have to deliver, which I'm sure they will. We already have a pretty good lineup, pretty good roadmap for the games that are coming out in 2024. But then when we get to the 2024 showcase next summer, so they're going to have to show off some of these games that have been announced now for a couple of years. State of Decay 3, Perfect Dark. Maybe we'll see some Indiana Jones. People want to see that stuff, and if they don't, people are going to be disappointed because of that short memory. Not always fair, but I think 2024 is going to be another phenomenal year for releases, and then for announcements of stuff that we don't even know is being worked on at the moment. Now, one of those games that is currently going to be coming to Xbox, and obviously this isn't first party, but it is a game that was an Xbox One exclusive when it released 10 years ago, and that's Killer Instinct. We got that 10th anniversary stream last week where they're getting the anniversary, making the anniversary update for the game. It has a bunch of tweaks to the characters. The graphics are looking better, all the stuff. I'm pretty excited to jump into it. They didn't give us a release date when they had that 10th anniversary stream, but as of right now, the game is going to be available November 28th. So today you're going to be able to jump in and play the Killer Instinct Anniversary Edition. It says here on November 28th at 12 p.m. Pacific. So I believe that's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're going to be able to jump in and play the Killer Instinct Anniversary Edition. If you have Game Pass, you're getting that free upgrade. If you have the Definitive Edition, you're getting that upgrade. If you have none of those, you have to pay, I believe, $30 for the Anniversary Edition. Or you could go and buy the Definitive Edition and then get the upgrade to the Anniversary Edition. I believe the Definitive Edition was $13. Not sure if that is still the price. So those are the ways you can actually get access to this. I loved Killer Instinct when it came out in 2013. I thought it was one of the better launch games across the board. It was a really great fighter. I love the graphics. I love the fast pace of it. And I will be jumping into this one as well when it hits, when they launch it, when it is available to play. So let's talk about some other cool things here. So something very interesting. As we know, times are changing in the games industry. A couple of generations ago, or even last generation, subscription wasn't really a thing until Xbox created Xbox Game Pass in 2017. But even at the launch, it still wasn't nearly as popular as it is right now. Xbox has done an insane job since 2017 until now to bring nonstop great content, first-party games, third-party deals, tons of incredible indie games. One of my favorite parts of Game Pass. Some people like to look down on indie games, but they make some of the most creative stuff in the industry. So the Game Pass is incredible. Subscription has grown. PlayStation is now growing their subscription even more with what they did with their tiers for PlayStation Plus and revamping those. And we know that they're going to be bringing out some cloud streaming and trying to make that better. So it is the way of the future. And now we are kind of see this show up in kids and their preferences in what they want for Christmas. And instead of getting full games, they're actually wanting now subscription services and virtual currency instead of actually getting games. I remember my childhood, the greatest gifts that I got every single Christmas were video games, whether it was a console or whether it was just one single game that I would just play for months and months and months until I was able to get another game. And now as a kid, it's insane. You don't even have to worry about that. You pay $10-15 a month. You're getting a massive catalog of stuff within subscription services. I wish I was a kid today because there would be so many games nonstop. We never have to worry about when is the next time I'm going to be getting a game. So there's a survey here that was done by the ESA showing only 22% of US children surveyed wanted physical games for the holiday. It says here that a report by the Entertainment Software Association has found that 72% of children in the US want games related products for Christmas, but only 22% have asked for physical games. Of the 500 plus children surveyed ages 10 to 17, most are planning to ask for video games related gifts for the holidays, and subscriptions were the most popular gift idea at 39%, closely by consoles at 38%, games accessories at 32%, and in-game currency at 29%. Surprisingly, only 22% of the children surveyed wanted physical games for Christmas. So there you have it. The industry has completely changed. Maybe this was something that Xbox had expected was going to be happening going forward as everything became more digital, and that's why they had a huge push. But as we know, when it comes to gaming, a massive part of the industry are kids playing games and their parents spending money for their kids to be able to access these games. Not only has subscription made it cheaper for parents, but now kids, they just want to be able to get that catalog of games. And you're going to see a lot more people probably getting Game Pass subscriptions for Christmas, getting an Xbox Series X or S and having the Game Pass subscription in there in the holiday bundles and stuff. And it's something that kids are just looking at. Do I want to get one game and spend 60, 100 hours or whatever into that singular game? Or do I want to get access to be able to play literally anything that I want? Because there's so much stuff in there. And if you remember when you were growing up, you weren't always nitpicking. You were like we do as adults here in terms of graphics, in terms of frames per second. You just want to play the games. And that's where subscription is pretty huge. And I think we'll continue to see this trend as years go on. And I'm sure Xbox is looking at this, and even PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation is probably looking at this and seeing that they need to continue to bolster their PlayStation Plus because the kids want the subscription. These kids will become adults and they're going to want to continue with that subscription and stuff. And whoever has the better subscription service, which by far and away right now is Xbox Game Pass, is going to be the leader in the future. All right, let's talk about Destiny 2, because we know at PlayStation, it's weird that not many when people talk about the Xbox tax, I talked about this in my video yesterday as well. It's not this crazy behind the scenes cabal that the journalists get together and want to hit on Xbox. It's why aren't people talking about at all really how bad of a year it's been for PlayStation? That's just the reality of the situation. 2022, everyone talked about how bad of a year it was for Xbox, and rightfully so. But this year, it almost seems like PlayStation is going to be getting away in the eyes of the media with the terrible year they've had, from just having Spider-Man as the bright spot with their one big release, and then to stuff with Bungie going on, the layoffs across the industry, and just no roadmap really for 2024 as well. And it's getting worse here as Destiny 2's next expansion, The Final Shape, has officially been delayed. They had said nothing about this delay when all the rumors were coming out. They came out and just said that they're working on a bunch of stuff and everybody should be excited, but they didn't mention the delay, which reality is that's probably a very good PR move by them because it was in the spotlight. But you look at the news this week, the spotlight is the Xbox tax, the spotlight is the Game Awards and Geoff Keighley. So this could potentially just fly under the radar for Bungie, which is probably why they waited and why they are announcing it now. But again, Destiny 2's next expansion has been delayed. And it's going to be pushed to June 4th, 2024, when it was originally supposed to be coming out on February 27th, 2024. They say here, the final shape is the culmination of the first 10 years of Destiny storytelling. And for Guardians everywhere, countless hours spent together. We want to honor that journey, so we're taking the time we need to deliver an even bigger and bolder vision, one that we hope will be remembered and treasured for years to come. Naturally, this change brings up questions about our upcoming release calendar. Seasons of the Wish begins tomorrow and will extend until the launch of the final shape in June. While the majority of content and narrative of Seasons of the Wish will run from late November to February as originally planned, the team is adding new content available for all players to jump into until the launch of the final shape. And this will include weekly progression-based quests. And they say here, we know you're going to get your hands on the final shape. In that sense, delays aren't fun. For our part, we are excited to have the extra time needed to bring our vision for the final shape to life for all of you. So, I mean, I'm always good with delays. If this means that this expansion is better than if they would have released it in February, perfect. I mean, I'm happy that they are delaying this, but it's just, again, something that is a negative towards what is going on PlayStation so far in 2023. And I just keep remembering what happened in 2022 when the delays hit and everyone was talking about it. All people talked about last year, especially as we got through the end of the year, just how bad of a year was for Xbox. And I don't really see anybody talking about that in terms of how bad of a year it has been for PlayStation. And when it comes to the gaming media, there's looking to be a huge sell-off here. ReedPop, if you know anything about ReedPop, they are the ones with Eurogamer, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, and GameIndustry.biz with Christopher Dring, who talks a lot about the data and the business side of the gaming industry. ReedPop now who's the owner of them, are investigating the potential of a sale of its gamer network business. It says the UK-based operation includes GameIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, VG247, and Dicebreaker. The business also holds shares in Outside Xbox, Digital Foundry, and Hookshot. Not included in the sale are UK-based events EGX or MCM or the digital brand Popverse. So they are looking to sell off to somebody else. And when we look at gaming journalism, there's a lot of questions why certain articles get published, why certain biases are in there. This all really does come down to who is the big conglomerate behind it, and that is ReedPop. And we will see who the buyer is going to be, and this will change anything at all going forward. I mean, in terms of games journalism, again, I have to bring it up again because we've talked about it all week and everyone is talking about the Xbox tax stuff. We saw Destin's video, which I agreed with some things, but overall I thought it was a pretty bad video trying to debunk the Xbox tax. He didn't really make any good points. And obviously he's out there and he's going to defend the company that feeds him and pays him. But when people are looking at game journalist websites, like, this is where we want to see changes happen, with somebody coming in and making sure there is some objectivity in that part of the industry, making sure that people are reporting the news, looking at both the Xbox versions, the PlayStation versions, the Switch versions, the PC versions, and just giving the information rather than inserting their own personal biases, their own personal opinions into reviews and into whatever is going on in the industry. If people want to do their personal biases, start a YouTube channel, talk about it, or do editorials only, all that type of stuff. So maybe there will be some change here for the positive if there's a new buyer that does come in and forces that into the reporting. Now let's talk about Everwild, because Everwild is another one of those games from Xbox that people want to see what is going on with this game. It seems like from all the news that did come out since its announcement that there was some issues with the development. We heard that potentially they had to restart everything from the ground up. They went with a different vision. We also heard Matt Booty, I believe it was on a podcast with Skill Up, say that was kind of blown out of proportion. It's not really as bad as it sounds when it comes to having to restart the development of Everwild. But this is one from Rare. We know how great Sea of Thieves is. We saw that brand new idea with going out there, putting it out there, getting people to jump in and play, expanding the game out and continuously improving upon it, making it into an incredible multiplayer experience, an incredible live service game that a lot of people do love to play. So Everwild has people excited to see what Rare is going to be able to do next to kind of add to their portfolio. Everwild, they showed off that initial trailer. That's really all we know about this. We don't know too much, even really the style of game that it is. It says here, it immediately caught everyone's attention with his vibrant art style and bizarre alien-like creatures, but we've heard little from the game since. Now, however, a job listing has appeared, which encouragingly still lists Everwild as Rare's next title. So it looks like they are still working on it. And a report surfaced years ago suggesting that it was targeting 2024 release before, I guess, being restarted from scratch. I doubt we're going to be getting this game for maybe another 2 years or so. I would even be surprised if we do see this game in 2024. But by 2025, if we don't see anything from Everwild, then I have my doubts as to if this game's actually going to make its way out or not. But they are looking for a video producer. That's the job listing, and someone to work on video content for both Sea of Thieves as well as Rare's next title, Everwild. So I guess if you think about that, maybe that gives a little bit of hope. Maybe they're looking for a video producer to produce some sort of trailer for the game that they may end up showing off this year. We'll wait and see, but I definitely kind of want to see what their creative idea is with this game. Is it a survival game? Is it a crafting game? Is it a multiplayer game? Is it a Monster Hunter style game? Stuff like that. Who knows? Because it's just so up in the air. We basically just know kind of what the art style is going to be. All right, let's jump over and let's talk about the Game Awards, because we have a couple of things here to talk about the Game Awards. Some info from Geoff Keighley. First of all, world premiere. That's essentially, I would say, the main reason why people watch the Game Awards is for the world premieres. It's for the announcements of games. Even the show itself puts a lot more emphasis on the announcements over the actual awards themselves. They kind of rifle through most of them, then they get to the big ones and the people who would come up and give their speech. But besides that, everyone just wants to see, is Xbox going to show something new? Is Nintendo going to show something new? Is PlayStation going to show something new? What third-party publishers are going to announce something to blow people away, something that nobody knew about? That's the main reason. But it looks like Geoff Keighley has revealed that this year's show is moving away from its familiar world premiere branding. This was during a Twitch Q&A, and he says this. Actually, you'll see this year, we often put up those cards, world premiere, world premiere. We're kind of moving away from that just because everything's kind of, is it a first look? Is it an announcement, etc.? So we just treat it all as great game content. So I don't think that really means anything from a lack of an announcements point of view. I feel like this is just them moving towards something new where they're not going to say world premiere. They're just going to say this is an announcement for a game, something very generic. So I still think we will see stuff. I do believe Xbox is going to be there, and I do believe they are going to be showing off something new, something exciting, and people will be excited to see what they have. Now, he does say this. I don't want to quote a number because then it's going to reverberate on the internet, but it's probably similar to past years in terms of the lengths of the show and content. We went a little bit shorter last year, or we tried to, but then Chris Judge took his sweet time with his speech. Is probably going to be similar to last year's with a little bit of a shorter show. So I found the Game Awards overall every single year way too long and boring. I'll be completely honest. Way too much filler and ads and all this type of stuff. I get why they have to do it, because it's literally the only way we'll be able to operate is if they have all that advertising money. So it makes sense, but it is extremely boring in general. There's maybe 10% of it that's exciting, and the rest for me, kind of a boring show. So hopefully they fix that up a little bit. Maybe some of the filler is more exciting. That's really all I hope for every year, that they show it, that they improve upon it just by a small amount, because it'll take a number of years before they really do get it perfect. Now, when it comes to the categories, it looks like the Resident Evil 4 getting in the Game of the Year nomination has really stirred up a lot of discussion as to should they have its own category for the best remake. And Geoff Keighley is saying that they are considering adding the best remake and the best supporting actor award. So here is what he says. Nothing new this year. I've seen people online saying, why don't we have best DLC category, which is kind of like the ongoing game category. Typically that's been live service games, but this year Cyberpunk 2077 is nominated. And when people ask why it's nominated, well, because they improved the base game in a big way with a version 2.0 and Phantom Liberty. So that's sort of in that category. The other thing people always ask is, why don't we have the best remake or remaster category? We've talked about it. I think the question is, are there 5 amazing remakes every year? Some of the years there were some amazing ones this year. Obviously, Resident Evil 4 is nominated for Game of the Year. Dead Space, a bunch of other good ones that came out this year. And the question also then is would those remakes not be eligible for Game of the Year? So yeah, nothing new in this category wise, but it's definitely something that we will talk about every year and try to evaluate the best way to go about it. I mean, for me, it doesn't really matter either if they add any of these awards. I kind of hope that they don't, because it just means more awards, and I find the awards part actually the most boring part of these shows. So I'm sure for the people there though who are working on these games, they would love to see more opportunities to be recognized for the work that they do. So in that case, that would be a good thing. Now, this part is hilarious, and this is why I don't even think they should be adding any more. This is the main reason, is that they can't even get certain awards correct. And Geoff Keighley didn't even really explain why this was the case with the whole indie game. If we remember, Dave the Diver qualified for best indie game, and it is not an indie game. It is actually, it's developed by Mint Rocket, who is a small team within Nexon, which is a South Korean company that made $1.8 billion in revenue in 2021 alone. So it's owned by a huge publisher, a huge company out there that provides resources, provides money to make these games. Now, you can look at it aesthetically and you may think, oh, this is an indie game, but it isn't. It is not an indie game. And Geoff Keighley had no accountability for this mistake at the Game Awards as to how that game qualified. When you think about it, Larian Studios is an indie game, and Baldur's Gate 3 could have been nominated in the best indie game award. Here's what he says. Look, it's a great question. Independent can mean different things to different people, and it's sort of a broad term. Now that right there to me already is kind of absurd. Sure, the people have different thoughts and ideas when it comes to indie games, right? People look at the graphics, they look at the stories, they look at the length of the game, the amount of people working on the game, and that may define an indie game for them. But the reality of the situation is, I think there is a pretty universal agreed upon definition when it comes to what is an indie game, and it's a game from an independent developer that doesn't have the backing of a major publisher, where that could do tons to help get games out. He says, you can argue, does independent mean the budget of the game? Does independent mean where the game's source of financing was? Does it mean the team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of the game, meaning a smaller game? That's sort of different. I think everyone has their own opinion about this, and we really defer to our jury of 120 global media outlets who vote on these awards to make that determination of is something independent or not. Now, here's my 2 cents. I could be completely off on this, but I honestly think that the 120 global media outlets just plainly got it wrong. They probably, a lot of them didn't even know that Nexon was the company backing Dave the Diver. They probably literally thought Dave the Diver was from Mint Rocket was an indie dev, and then they voted for that. So that's what probably truly happened. And I don't know if that's just because of the fact that people have lost faith in the games journalism, the games media, but that's kind of what I think truly happened. Instead of just owning that mistake, making excuses here. He says, in other industries, sometimes there are things, I think in the film industry, the budget can be above amount of dollars or it's not independent. So I don't know. Some people have said Larian with Baldur's Gate 3, that's an independent game. Kojima Productions with Death Stranding, some people say that's an independent game. And even though that's an independent studio, of course it's funded by PlayStation. So he goes on and on and on, talks about all the stuff. Has no accountability as to this mistake that was made for Dave the Diver. Now here we go. I'll go to Wikipedia, and I know people say, oh, Wikipedia, but I would say this is a universal agreed upon definition and thought as to what an indie game is. An indie game, short for independent video game, is a video game typically created by individuals or smaller development teams without the financial or technical support of a large game publisher, in contrast to most AAA games. And it says in the definition section, the term indie game itself is based on similar terms like independent film and independent music, where the concept is often related to self-publishing and independence from major studios or distributors. So right there, Dave the Diver is not that. Geoff got it wrong. The 120 global panelists, media, they all got it wrong. Just admit that you got it wrong. But on the video there, guys, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you.